All right, good morning, crew. We're going to go through this PowerPoint real quick. So, this is part two of our East Asia section. Still talking about China loosely, but we're actually focusing on a different group that's in the region. All right, so that group is the Mongols, as you guys can see on the screen. And the Mongols are going to come from the northern area that we talked about the other day in our part one. All right, remember that northern part that depended on the southern region to get food to eat. Remember, it's a lot colder in northern Asia, Northeast Asia, and they don't have the resources at this time in the Middle Ages to grow food properly or consistently. So they depend on the South. Now, if the South is not trading with them and not giving them food and not shipping food to them, obviously they're going to have a problem. Obviously, they're going to be angry and upset. All right, so the Mongols are going to come out of that group. The leader of the Mongols is Genghis Khan. It may be a name that you've heard of before. Um, a lot of his story, a lot of the Mongol story, is actually parallel to Mulan, right? The Mulan movie, the Disney movie that just came out, the remake of it. If you got a chance to watch that movie on Disney, you'll see and you understand the story of the Mongols. You'll see a lot of those parallels between their leader, um, the soldiers that fall on horseback, and them trying to constantly take over mainland China. That's what the Mongols tried to do. So Genghis Khan was born to Mujin, all right, as his name. As a child, besides living in the north and living in a colder area of Asia and being kind of a second-class citizen in East Asia, his father was actually killed by a rival group, rival clan, poisoned and killed. So he grew up without a father. At first, he suffered many losses in battle because he was put at a young age. He was put in charge of his father's army. So took a lot of losses. Grew up in the north, and his father was killed by a rival group. At the age of 15, he was taken prisoner. All right, taken prisoner by another group. He never forgets this humiliation. He never forgets being locked in a wooden collar and paraded around before his enemies. All right, so it's a lot of humiliation, a lot of embarrassment. He takes a lot of ills early on in his life, and that's um, kind of is definitely going to be the reason why he does a lot of things that he does in the future. His story is also very similar to a guy we're going to talk about in World War II with Hitler. All right, takes a lot of losses early in life, and once he gets to power, he's gonna go crazy. All right, he's gonna go crazy and take it to the extreme. All right, he escapes. So once he's freed from this group, this rival group, the Tartar, he's gonna escape to the mountains. He wanders around as an outcast among drifting clans. All right, so learning how to fight, becoming better as a soldier, becoming better as a leader as he wanders around. As he grew up, he acquired a reputation for his courage and his genius for military leadership. All right, so some of his good qualities: his courage, bravery, and then he's going to be a genius military expert. All right, again, a lot of similarities to the Mulan movie. If you see it, you understand what I'm saying. He's going to take revenge on the clan that enslaved him, and before the age of 45, he's going to be elected supreme ruler of the Mongols. All right, not really elected, right? It's not really having a ballot for it, but he's going to be named the supreme ruler, partly because of his dad, but also the reputation that he has built over the years since being enslaved himself. So, supreme ruler of the Mongols, known as Genghis Khan, world emperor. The Mongols in battle. All right, again, that Mulan comparison. Genghis Khan imposed a strict military discipline and demanded absolute loyalty. All right, you had to be loyal to the cause, you had to be loyal to the group. Very strict, and that's part of the reason why they became so powerful. The Mongol armies triumphed under his leadership. So they were able to conquer a lot of land. And when we get to the map section, you'll see how much land they actually conquered. This is the largest empire in world history. All right, largest empire in world history. All right, so Some people may not know that. Some people may not know Genghis Khan. Some people may not know the Mongols. But they're going to be the largest empire in world history. All right, they're going to take over all of Asia, well, most of Asia, most of mainland Asia, and a good chunk of Europe. All right, so that large stretch. All right, tough, skilled warriors. They use horses to dominate their enemies. Possibly most skilled warriors in the world. All right, definitely at the time, they're possibly the most skilled warriors of the world. We don't know because all the warriors didn't have contact with each other across the world. Women were also great riders, Spanish war camps, and sometimes their own forces. All right, so partly of how women were treated in a society. But we're going to get to another side of that. Uh-huh. Genghis rewarded his enemies if they were brave. So if you went out fighting and you were just outnumbered, he rewards you for your bravery. His goal wasn't to kill everybody. All right, it just so happens he kills a lot of people, but his goal wasn't to kill a lot of, everybody that he came in contact with. So that's unique in a war situation. All right, we'll talk more about it. He faced the problem of attacking the walled cities of China, constantly trying to invade China. We know the Great Wall of China. We know other walls in China are set up to protect the Chinese. He constantly has the problem of attacking those walls, and then the leaders that come after him also have those problems, right? The Great Wall, and trying to get past it. So they turn to Chinese and Turkish military experts, these people that know how to use gunpowder, they know how to use cannons and weapons to teach them to use these weapons. The Chinese and the Mongols both launched missiles at each other from tubes filled with gunpowder. So getting to our early cannons, our early guns, getting to the idea of guns, and these cannons spread to Europe. All right, we're gonna talk about the damage they do in Europe, but this is the first use on the battlefield of using cannons and gunpowder on the battlefield. Coincidentally, um, at this same time, later on in the same time period in the Middle Ages, the Chinese are going to develop and master the art of making actual guns that individuals can hold and use for combat. All right, but Genghis Khan Temujin dies in 1227. He's unable to complete his conquest of China, so he's unable to completely take over China. All right, and that's going to be one of his things. Obviously, that was his biggest mission to do. All right, but the effects of his domination, the people that come after him, his heirs to his throne, um, they're gonna keep and continue to expand the Mongol Empire and keep it running strong for about 150 years. So his heirs, like you see on the screen, his heirs, Genghis Khan's, continue to expand the Mongol Empire. They dominate much of Asia and going into Europe. They topple empires, spread destruction from Russia, the Middle East to China. All right, so we see how vast this empire, how huge it is. And if you know anything about this region that we have in this kind of light maroon color down there, colored, it's very diverse. Right, you're going all the way from East Asia to the Middle East and getting to the tips of Europe. So a lot of diversity, a lot of different groups, a lot of different ethnic groups call this place home. All right, and the Mongols are able to control it all. All right, he let oppressed people live as they had, as long as they paid their tribute to the Mongols. So again, he wasn't trying to kill everybody. Rewarding people for their bravery, and if you were oppressed, he just let you be. All right, a lot of groups have done this in history. They just let you be as long as you acknowledge that and pay tribute that the Mongols run this land. All right, but he let the less fortunate just be. All right, so you speak your own language. Um, Maybe you still have your own village leader, your own town leader, but you know the Mongols. You know Genghis Khan is the emperor. All right, so but you still get to keep your culture. You still get to keep your language. All right, if you take it over by the Mongols. The Yuan dynasty. All right, Genghis' grandson Kublai Khan. He toppled the last Song Empire. So the Song dynasty we know about. Toppled the last Song emperor in 1279. He decreed only Mongols could be in the army. So the Mongols take over after Genghis Khan is done. His grandson comes and leads the Mongols to take over China. All right, takes over mainland China. And he decreed that the Mongols could be the only ones in the army. So only the Mongols are fighting in the army, and that he didn't want the Mongols to be absorbed into Chinese culture. So he doesn't want the Chinese culture to be dominant like it had been, like we talked about in part one. He wants the Mongols to keep their own culture. He allows the Chinese officials to rule the provinces because there were not enough Mongols to do so. So that's a problem when you have so much land and control. You spread yourself thin. You can't control all the land like you want to. So you most of the time keep the people in power that were already there. All right, as long as they acknowledge that you're the emperor and you're the guy in charge, but you keep the small Chinese officials ruling their own province. He welcomes foreigners. All right, so this is different. Mongols, when they control China, they welcome foreigners. They want people to come in. They want people to see. They open the door to explorers, to traders. So some of those names are Marco Polo. We're going to talk a little bit more about, and even Batuta. We also want to talk about. All right, and they spread ideas of such technology and porcelain. The Pax Magnolia. This is our time period. This is pretty much 1200s to most of the 1300s. All right, 1200 years, 1200 to 1300s. The Mongols were created. They created a strong empire. All right, 1200 to 1300. They have little crime throughout the empire. They have a strong military, of course. They trade across the Silk Road, right? The Silk Road, and if you, yes, I keep saying the Mulan comparison. Or if you watch the movie Mulan, the Silk Road is an important part of that. But the Silk Road stretches from Europe all the way through China. All right, so it covers all that land, and they set up trade across the whole Silk Road. All right, so bringing goods from Europe to China and back and forth from China to Europe. Spread of ideas from China like silk, porcelain, and gunpowder. So all these things to trade are now spread across the Silk Road. Toleration of many cultures. All right, during this time, toleration is very diverse empire, which most empires are. All right, because they're made up of a lot of different people. All right. The fall of the Mongols. All right, no matter how great every civilization has fallen throughout world history, all right, something has led to their demise. The Mongol Empire collapses when the leaders become corrupt. All right, so different leaders are weakened and become corrupt. The military and laws are weakened. All right, again, because they're stretched out so far, it's hard to keep a firm hand on who's following the laws, who's following the military laws, and who's just kind of going against whatever because they know the Mongols are not going to see them on a daily. All right, so it's hard to keep control. And then the local khans fight amongst themselves. The local khans, all right, most of them related in some way to Genghis Khan. They are going to fight amongst themselves. Who's the top dog? Who's the king of kings? Who's the emperor of the world? All right, so khans fighting with each other. The Ming take over China. They explored the world like the Mongols. All right, the Mings return to isolation. So once they take over and pretty much put the Mongols in a corner, the Ming Dynasty is going to take over. And once they take over, they're going to return China back to isolation. All right, back to nobody coming in, repairing the Great Wall. We don't want any Europeans. We don't want anybody from the Middle East coming in here. And they're going to rebuild the Chinese culture once again. So they return to isolation, deciding other cultures are inferior. They strengthen China, improve porcelain making, fix the Wall, like we said, and they're going to bring back a guy and his philosophies that we talked about in part one, Confucius. All right, bring back Confucius scholars in the government. All right, so once the Mongols fall, all right, and that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.